Glenridge Board The Glenridge Board of Education met tonight in executive session. We're now ready to go forward with the public portion of our meeting. I promised certain members of the public I would always say how many are with us. 74 people are with us, so excluding the panelists, we have about just over 60 people with us tonight. We had some written communications this week, actually in the 2 weeks since we've last met. We had numerous similar emails on the subject of the elimination of the Glenridge High School librarian position. Mrs. Murphy has recorded and acknowledged all of them that we have received to date. I neglected at the last meeting to read portions of an email that I received from a parent, Felice Bettenbender, on the subject of AAPI related issues and bias. And so I will read, with the agreement of Ms. Bettenbender, I will read the portions of her email that are on the general issue of AAPI bias and do not refer to members of her own family. So she says, this is from a letter that she sent to our district-wide equity committee, because many people who aren't Asian or Eurasian American aren't aware of many of the specific difficulties that our community faces. And she hopes that this helps provide some understanding of those issues as we work towards a more equitable school system. She begins by thanking us for forming the equity committee and beginning to address issues of diversity and inclusion in our school system. She and her family appreciate that these topics are on our radar and hope that teachers and staff are taking advantage of the excellent learning opportunities that are being provided. She mentions that her family has had children in the Glenridge School District for almost 13 years so far. She's aware of issues that affect other minority groups in Glenridge and does not wish to minimize them, but wants to speak about issues that affect Asian and Eurasian American children and families based on her personal experience. She says, as you may know, Asian and Eurasian Americans are unfortunately saddled with various stereotypes in our country, including 1, being perpetual foreigners, regardless of how many generations our family have been US citizens. 2, being monolithic and interchangeable, which encompasses the idea that all Asians/Eurasians look the same. And 3, eating strange food that's not, quote, normal or healthful. She goes on to say that Asian Eurasian children in Glenridge have been asked to pronounce or translate Chinese words by people who as teachers and others who assumed they spoke Chinese, which plays into the stereotype of Asian Eurasian Americans as perpetual foreigners who must speak their foreign language. Also, she said children of AAPI or Eurasian heritage are continually confused with other Asian or Eurasian American children. Our children are frequently called by each other's names in school. The message being sent is that children is that they are all the same and unworthy of being distinguished from each other. She also mentions messaging that has come across at various times that Asian food is weird and or unhealthful. She said on a more subtle and insidious level, I make the point that unconscious bias exists even among the best, most open-minded teachers. She mentions an occasion where the phrase disturbingly traditional in an assignment, that phrase was used to describe a Chinese meal cooked by a Chinese American mother for white American guests on Christmas Eve. Again, this language was in an assignment. The story never used the word disturbing. And she said, even if the point was to reflect the character's embarrassed feelings about the traditional food, the assignment was poorly worded and indicated an unconscious bias behind the phrasing. She goes on to thank us for our attention to this email and hopes that the equity committee can find a way to begin addressing these issues. And of course, this parent with whom I've communicated is also aware of the ongoing equity audit. So that is communications for the 2 weeks prior to this meeting. The president's report is short. because we have a lot to cover tonight. I want to, we all know that Memorial Day weekend is coming up. I want to remember community members and members of their families who've served in the military, and hope that we will all commemorate that day with that kind of remembrance. And with that, I will turn it over to Dirk, for the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Betsy. I appreciate it. I'm going to share my screen. So we have several items that I will present today. The first is just giving an update on the district as it relates to COVID-related matters. Our region, again, remains at a moderate to risk level. This past week, on Thursday, when the Cali level came out, the Southeast region was actually at a green low risk level, which is the first time we've seen that happen. So when we look at the three subcategories, all our numbers locally have continued to drop for the past several weeks, which is a positive sign. Within our district, we've really had two positive signs. We've had no new COVID-19 cases among our staff or students for the past 2 weeks. And last week, in addition to that, we had no new quarantines. So that's the first time that has happened. And today we started full days in all our buildings. So that was very exciting. As I mentioned in the past, lunch has always been the obstacle for us. But on days like this, we're utilizing the outdoor space, and hopefully we can continue to have nice days for the remainder of the year. But if we have to move in, we do have plans to handle inclement weather days. One of the things at this time of year I love to share is our college selection. So for the class of 2021, this is our updated college selection list. I'll leave it up here for a half a minute or so everyone has a chance to look at the different colleges that our students, our graduates have selected. Again, filled with a lot of quality schools. Very proud of our students, and they've had a really difficult year as far as the college process, with the pandemic hitting us in March, and just limited ability to go visit schools, and the process was streamlined a lot more, which made it in some cases more difficult to get into certain colleges. But in the end, our students have again got into a lot of top-notch colleges and will continue their education as they move on from Glen Ridge. And this will be made available online, and I will share it with the public when I give the Board of Education highlight summary. I do want to recognize some students. We had the annual Congressional Art Competition, and that happens each spring. The Congressional Institute sponsors a nationwide high school visual art competition to recognize and encourage artistic talent in the nation. Since the Artistic Discovery Competition began in 1982, more than 650,000 high school students have participated. Students submit their entries to the representative's office. Ours was hosted by Congressman Donald M. Payne Jr., and panels of district artists select the winning pieces. For this year's competition, as you can see, we had 3 of our photography students win in their categories of first, second, and third place: Liam Ide, Abby Carlucci, and Olivia Link. And for the drawing category, we had a second place by Stacy Bloomfield, who's taught by Mrs. Pam Baker. Our photography teacher is Katie Pritchard. For the photography section and for the overall competition, we are very pleased to announce that Alexander Zwig won Best in Show for her piece. And I believe Ms. Pritchett and Allie are both online. Am I correct? I'd like to hear from them.
If you guys could raise your hand, I will admit you to the meeting as a presenter.
So Allie's piece, which is titled Slow Shutter Swings, will be displayed at the U.S. Capitol building for a year. And I want to make sure I share her photo with you. And maybe they weren't able to make it. So let me explain the photo a little bit. Hopefully you recognize the location. It is at Forest Avenue School. And it was taken on January, earlier this year after dusk. In order to capture the movement of the swings, she set up a tripod, manipulated the shutter speed on her digital SLR camera. Her father assisted her with getting all the swings in motion so she could create the image that she had in mind. The backlighting of the lights in the scene helped create a silhouette effect on the swing sets.
Okay, they have joined the meeting as panelists. They
Great.
can unmute and speak.
Miss Pritchard?
Phillips, I give you an A+ in photo. You got all the
Thank you.
yeah, you got all the words right. That was great. And well written there by Allie and I. It's really hard when you have to put words to images, right? And the win is really special here. And for, Allie to get this as her first time in AP photography, we're just thrilled.
Allie, are you there? All right. Well, if you're listening, I just want to say congratulations again. The entire community is proud of your piece. It's a little extra special because it is a picture on school grounds, at least from my point of view. And hopefully within the year, I'll be able to make my way down to the Capitol building and see it on display. I was shocked when I saw it, just how majestic it is. So, and you definitely captured the moment. It's just a terrific piece of art. Congratulations. Ms. Pritchard, you still on the line?
Yes.
Oh, good. Because I also want to recognize a couple other recognitions with that you've had this year. The National Yearbook Program of Excellence Award was awarded to the middle school and the high school yearbook. And Ms. Pritchard is the advisor for the high school and does assist the middle school. And earlier this year, the last year's cover, the class of 2020, won Best Cover Design. Can you speak a little bit about those two programs?
Yes, thank you. So we were delighted to win Best Cover Design. Oh, that's us. And what made this really special, this was the 50th anniversary of the moon landing. So when I met the Glen Ridge High School students, they had these really neat shirts with the UFO on them. And I said, boy, am I lucky to work for a district where these kids are so hip. And we made this design, the yellow on the cover there, it actually glows in the dark. So, and then a year later, this is one of those, good things come to those who wait. A year later, we were actually recognized nationally as one of the best cover designs. We've been published in a lookbook, and there's about 11,000 schools in our nation that use the same company as we do. And we are now printed as an example for them to, take ideas from. So that was a really nice way to start the year. And our current edition, it hasn't even been printed. It's currently coming hot off the press, should be in our hands, we're hoping within the week. And that yearbook actually was just awarded for, we increased our sales this year by 35%. So on the books, it would seem as though Glen Ridge High School just doubled. So we know that didn't happen. So I award my students and the 10 or 12 students I have this year, and we were able to get a lot more copies in hands. So that award came in and we got a bronze level recognition. And I want to give a major nod to the three women that I work with, Courtney Warren, Marilyn Savio, and Smita Gnatra. They got the silver award. So they one-upped my program. Now, I told them I have something to strive for next year because they got silver and now we want silver. So it's just been a pleasure so far to work with the kids the last 2 years. And Mr. Phillips, I'm really grateful to have this opportunity to speak on behalf of the efforts that my students and the middle school program are putting forward.
Well, and we certainly want to thank you for your leadership and direction through all this. And starting the AP photography class is also another feather in your cap that we're proud of. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
One of the things I do want to mention is the end of the year events, and I'm just going to briefly give you a little summary of what's happening in the next few weeks. And the reason why I wanted to do this is it's just symbolizes another sign that we are close to normalizing our school year, and signs that hopefully next fall we will be even closer to being back to normal. So we've gone basically a year and a half with having minimal events in the schools, really limited to athletics. So then we started having some of our art functions that happened with musical productions and concerts. And as you can see, for the next few weeks, we have a lot of events that are happening. Some of our traditional end of the year field trips for our sixth grade class, for our seniors, the prom, promotion ceremonies, graduation, events that did not take place last year. So it's nice to have them back on the calendar, have our kids have those experiences that will create lifetime memories. And it's a sign of hope for all of us. So we're very pleased about that. And tonight we have a special student presentation. The AP Chinese class asked if they could do a presentation since May was Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. So we're going to invite their teacher, Shihong Zhang, to come up, to come live. And she's going to share her screen to show the presentations. And the three students, Micah, Emma, and Jasmine, will be presenting.
Okay. Hi, I'm sorry. I come from the concert, try to get to the school building. Nobody can open the door for me. So I have stopped by my friend's house. I couldn't use the computer. Mr. Phillips, would you please help to share the screen for the presentation?
Let me find it for just a second, please.
Yeah. There's no front desk, couldn't find the custodian, couldn't get into the building. You know, May is the Asian American Pacific Islanders Heritage Month. So after AP test on May 14th, our AP class is doing the project on this. They did a lot of information. So we think it's good to share with broad audience. So I talked to Mr. Phillips, and he said it's okay. So today we try to present to the board meeting. Because Jasmine has to go to the tennis practice. So Emma and Mika will present. Emma, are you there?
Miss Tang, she was unable to join the meeting
Oh,
for some reason, so I'm not sure what's happening.
okay. Emma is not in right now. Okay. So Mika, do you want to present it from the beginning, or you want me to do the front part? Okay, I will do the beginning part.
Well,
Right,
sure, I just texted her right now. She says I'm in the just won't give me any options to talk. So I think
Oh,
it's just
I'm a
Please,
in the
please
meeting.
raise your hand and I will promote you to panelist.
Use the raise hands button. Yeah. We found Emma?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, then you can start, Emma.
Okay, so this is the presentation on Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. Asia is an extraordinary continent full of diverse cultures, traditions, cuisines, and fun. And this presentation was done by me, Mika, and Aiden, but he can't present today. Asia is located in the same hemisphere as us, so they go through the same seasons as we do at the same time. And it's not shown here, but also the islands lower down by Asia are considered in AAPI. What is AIPI? AIPI is Asian American Pacific Islanders. It's a term used in mostly the United States to include both Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders to show their heritage. Some of Asian American history is the first transcontinental railroad, which is the Central Pacific Railroad, made by Chinese immigrants in 1865, which includes from east to west in America. Another thing is the Chinese Exclusion Act in 1882, which banned most immigration from Asia to America. There was also the Japanese American soldiers from Hawaii who joined the U.S. Army in 1993. And most recently, there's Kamala Harris, who was sworn in as the first Indian American Vice President of the United States. Some more recent famous Asian Americans are Vera Wang, the fashion designer, Kamala Harris, which I just said, first Indian American Vice President. There's also Yo-Yo Ma, which is a famous Chinese cellist, and Jeremy Lin, who's a basketball player, and Lisa Ling is a journalist who works for CNN now, I'm pretty sure, and Sandra Oh, who is a famous actress who's been in a lot of stuff in the past years. What do they eat in Asia? This is just a few of the cuisines that are there. There's a wide variety of stuff. Some differences that are in most American versus Asian countries is in America, for drinks, as an example, people will usually have ice water or coffee, but in China and other Asian countries, they'll get hot water instead, and they'll get hot tea because it's like a palate refresher, and they believe that there are many health benefits to it. Other foods that aren't shown here that are really popular in different Asian countries are rice cakes in South Korea, teppanyaki, which is a grilling style type of food in Japan, falafels, which is Israel, and sarma, which is a filling. It's made in Turkey, and there's also dal, which is a lentil soup from India. Fashion in Asia, this is traditional fashion. There's in China, there's the Hanfu, the Ao Dai in Vietnam, and the one next to China is Japan, but I guess it's not written there right now. Then in the bottom corner in Samoa, those are lava lavas, and that's Indian, so it shows that there's a wide variety of different fashions throughout all of the different parts of Asia, and it's not just like the same thing. Modern fashion, most Asian countries have created um, a lot of trends for streetwear that have moved into Western countries. These are just a few photos of them, and some of the popular um, businesses that are made that have become famous recently from India are Biscuit, Stray, and Not One, and Jaywalking. Those are very popular fashion companies that they've made. And in Japan, there's Izzy Miyake and Uniqlo and Hair, which is also very famous.
Hi, my name is Mia Vensky, and I'll present some of the holidays from Asia. So I think the best way to experience Asia is in its holidays because they actually share a lot of things in common. So as you can see, I have a couple of holidays on screen right now. Japan celebrates Japanese New Year, China celebrates Chinese New Year, Korea celebrates Sual, which is almost the equivalent of a New Year, and then Thailand and its neighboring cities celebrate Buddhist New Year. All these have in common with our holiday that we celebrate, which is New Year's Eve. Now, China and the Vietnam, they usually celebrate with the Lunar New Year calendar, and the Buddhist New Year, it's basically celebrated in April, and it's basically a water festival where they splash themselves with water to bring them new blessings and good luck and good fortune. All right, next one. Here are two more holidays. These are celebrated in the Philippines and in India, and they both celebrate Independence Day, which is similar to our Independence Day on July 4th. These holidays they celebrate in the Philippines and in India are very similar to the 4th of July that America commemorates. Independence Day in the Philippines celebrates their separation from Spain, while India's Republic Day memorializes the Constitution of India, which made it a newly reformed republic. Next slide. All right, so what's the difference? So first, greetings. There are many different greetings in Asia. Um, Thailand usually puts their hands together. That's how they normally greet. While when Japan, they usually bow respectively. So to say hello because it's a common courtesy. And then in Singapore, they usually never wrap their gifts in blue, black, or white colors because it is funeral custom. So it is seen as bad luck. So when they're in Thailand, they try to wrap their gift in yellow or gold colors, while Indonesia, they wrap it in red and gold because these are lucky colors. And then it's usually they open their gifts like when the guest isn't there for out of politeness. Next slide. All right, and then the major issue that we're discussing is Asian hate, and I'm going to discuss the cause and cure. So Asian hate is the actions people perform to discriminate against Asian Americans. They usually use racial slurs and violence to achieve this. So how did it come to be? Although there isn't just one main reason to why Asian hate crime came to be, they're usually racial based. One reason for the recent outbreak of Asian hate can be the COVID-19 pandemic. Due to the virus originating from China, some Americans would put the blame on Asian Americans. A reason for Asian hate in the past could be that most Asian immigrants were taking people's jobs, which left many Americans unemployed. Next slide. What can we do to stop it? First, we need to accept the differences in culture and respect to each other, because if we don't, it will separate the US and its people from being united. Second, saying no to any type of hurtful language and behavior so it will put an end to racism and discrimination. If we follow these two steps, Asian hate and racism cease to exist, and everyone in America can feel like they truly belong here. Next slide. I found this one image which I really like because of the quote. Cultural differences should not separate us from each other, but rather cultural diversity brings a collective strength that can benefit all of humanity, by Robert Allen. And that's it. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Ms. Zhang and presenters. I think it gives us all something to think about, and certainly the API History and Recognition Month reminds us of the beauty of all of the cultures in Asia. So thank you very much for taking the time to make the presentation tonight. Anything to add, Mrs. Zhang, or?
Just to give an update, I know we were talking at the last board meeting about the American Rescue Plan, and late this afternoon, some information was released by the state of New Jersey. So I haven't had an opportunity to review that, but we're certainly excited about the prospect of getting some funding to address some concerns we have in the district. We are looking right now, based on the number that they send us, is a little under $1.3 million, and we have until September 2024 to spend those funds. So we'll go through that process where we want to make sure that we're following all the procedures that are necessary to receive those funds, and we'll be making a recommendation to the Board of Ed about those funds and accepting the plans once we complete the process.
Derek, if you could talk a little bit about the application process that's connected with the art funds.
I'm sorry, you broke up.
The application process. If you can talk a little bit about the application process and the procedural aspects.
I haven't been able to look over it because it just came out late this afternoon. What I will tell you is the previous information we had is they wanted to make sure that all the stakeholders within the school community are involved in it. So we'll be looking to form some committees to discuss the ways we can spend the money and what best serves our students.
Okay, thank you. Board members, any questions? Okay, I don't see any questions.
One question.
I'm sorry.
Is this anticipated to be a one-time infusion?
Correct. It's at this time we're expecting it to be a one-time grant, and as I mentioned, it's funding that we can use for the next 3 school years.
Okay, other questions or comments? All right, we have arrived now at the first public comment period for comments on agenda items only. For those of you who aren't familiar with our comment procedure, you use the raise your hand function, which is by the participants tab at the bottom of your screen. And you raise your hand, I will recognize you. And then you have 2 minutes, 2 minutes in the first public comment section, 2 minutes at the end. Identify yourself, your place of residence, and your affiliation, if that's applicable. And we will take you in the order in which your hands appear. Please, if you have multiple questions or comments, state them right up front so that we can also give you an appropriate answer. I will be using the mechanism, the stopwatch mechanism on my phone, so I will try to warn you when your time is almost up. So questions or comments? I see Rob Harden.
Hello, everybody. I have a new question based on those comments. May I urge the board to form a committee to spend some of the $1.3 million in rehiring a librarian and reinstating the library media specialist? Is that something we can request?
It certainly will be part of our discussions surrounding this grant from the government.
Thank you. May I?
Right.
Thank you. May I strongly urge you to do so? And I will limit myself to one process question.
Sure.
May I ask for a show of hands from the board members? How many of you have taught for at least 2 years at a high school or college?
I think, I believe that the one individual who is a teacher in this group is not with us right at the moment.
Thank you very much.
Does law school count or no?
My follow-up was going to be, did your classes require research?
I believe that we have all been, whether we are educators or not, our classes have all at various times required research.
Yes, I meant if you taught a class that required research.
Michael, did you teach a class that required research?
No, law requires no research. Yes, the classes I taught required research. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I see Beth.
Hi, Beth Thomas, President of the New Jersey Association of School Librarians, Springfield, New Jersey. New Jersey Administrative Code states that a district must provide every student with school library media services under the direction of a certified school library media specialist. How is a district in compliance when there has not been a certified librarian at Ridgewood Avenue School since 2018? That's my first question.
Okay. If you could state all your questions, we'll.
Oh, sure. How will Glen Ridge be in compliance now that a certified librarian will not be providing services to grades 7 through 12? And the next question deals with CUSAC. So CUSAC, as you probably know, stands for the New Jersey Quality Single Accountability Continuum, and is the Department of Education's monitoring and district self-evaluation system for public schools. School library media services are listed under the governance component. How is Glen Ridge reporting the way school library services are being provided?
Okay, was that all the questions?
Yes.
Thank you. Dirk, would you like to address those?
Athena, would you like to just talk about what the requirement is for school districts?
Sure. The requirement for school districts is that while the services are provided under the direction of a certified librarian, there need only be one certified librarian in the district for those purposes. That is the same language that is under the governance section of CUSAC. So while there may not be a librarian in every school building, you can certainly have the services under the direction of the librarian nonetheless.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything to add, Dirk?
No, I believe at the last meeting we talked about, it's not uncommon for us to have positions where they're consulting in other buildings and not just working within their own building.
Okay. Eric Dimick.
Hello, everybody. My name is Eric Dimick. I am a social studies teacher at Glen Ridge High School, as well as the social studies program leader. I just have a statement I'd like to read about keeping our library media specialist and how important it is that we have it. The GRHS Social Studies Department relies heavily on the library media specialist to support us in a variety of ways. We have very serious concerns about the elimination of this position and what it would mean for the quality of instruction that we are able to provide our students. As it stands now, our GRHS students are ahead of their peers when it comes to proper research and citation skills, which they will continue to use not only through high school, but in college as well. Anybody can Google a topic for information, but a library media specialist will teach students how to properly evaluate information and distinguish between relevant information and unusable hearsay. a skill that is becoming increasingly important for the 21st century learner. The library media specialist has been essential in acquiring relevant materials and making them readily available for students as needed, as well as managing our online databases. We have all relied on Mary Lynn Savio as an invaluable resource when assigning research papers and projects in our courses. She has also presented and discussed materials with our classes when the students are studying a particular topic, and has routinely set up mobile carts for resources to be moved temporarily into our classrooms for the use of our students. Our library media specialist does not just tell the students what books are available, but also possesses the necessary skills to make analytical choices for a broad spectrum of students from grades 7 through 12, as well as those with special needs. Most importantly, the library media specialist provides students with a strong foundation in research skills, which we will build upon as they move through the middle school and high school social studies courses. When students come to our classes, whether it's in 7th grade or 12th grade, we know that they will have a certain level of background knowledge in conducting research, searching online databases, and identifying reliable sources to incorporate into an essay or project.
Eric, you're at 2 minutes.
Okay, sorry.
No, you can finish up if you've got a closer.
Okay, last piece is that having a dedicated specialist to teach the students these skills is absolutely necessary. And if it has to be part of the social studies department to teach this, it's going to take essential time away from our regular schedule of classes and work.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Kristen Carl.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Great. Hi, thank you. This is Kristen Carl, 52 Midland Avenue. I have 2 children in the district, and I'm a professor at Stevens in Hoboken, New Jersey. I want to start by thanking all of the Board of Ed members for their work on everything they do in what are probably thankless roles. And I guess I want to chime in on the library media specialist with 2 points. The first is that I'd like to respectfully request that the ARP funds be used in the short term to reinstate the library media specialist position, and that be extended to some form of a longer term solution to retain the position as we move forward in the district. And the second comment that I want to make is that I firmly believe that the budgetary process should be as transparent as possible. And while I have no doubt that there are very difficult decisions to be made and that difficult trade-offs are necessary, I'd like to formally request that there be a public comment period with at least 5 days notice after the specifics of the budget are released. As a parent of 2 young children, a coach, a professor, a volunteer, and filling all the roles that we fill, I think it's very difficult to expect citizens to fulfill our civic responsibility when the time frame for doing so is so limited. So if a citizen in the most recent cut was not logged on the day of the meeting, it was difficult to know the exact specifics of which positions were going to be eliminated. And then they essentially lost their ability to have input. While I totally understand that there are personnel considerations and the need for privacy, I think providing the Glen Ridge community several days to review specifics of the budget and holding a public comment after the review period will be of the utmost importance. So I would respectfully request that the procedures for the budget vote be adjusted to encourage greater transparency. And I think it would benefit the BOE to know how the community feels before they are asked to cast votes for the budget. And if I misunderstood part of the process, or if I missed something, I would welcome any clarifications and your input. Thank you.
Thank you. Dirk, any comment?
We did meet the communication committee. We met, I believe, last week to discuss possibly adjusting how we get when we get our information out as it relates to the budget to the public. And we've discussed the possibility that in the future we will release the budget presentation, which contains all the figures and proposed cuts and additions to the upcoming budget earlier, so the public would have that information prior to the BOE meeting that takes place late in April.
Okay. Jody Hackmeyer.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Good evening, everyone. Jody Hackmeyer. I live in Bloomfield, but I have worked in the Glen Ridge School District for almost 20 years as an English teacher. Thrilled to hear that the grant was awarded and certainly hoping that those funds can be used to reinstate the library media specialist position. And on that note, we have a statement from the English department. We have a number of concerns about the proposed loss of the high school library media specialist position and how it will impact our instruction and our students. First, the library media specialist teaches students important research skills in both 7th and 8th grade. This gives them a foundation in how to find information and structured practice in preparing research papers, including how to quote, to paraphrase, and cite sources. Knowing our students come to us with this base knowledge enables us to more swiftly take their writing skills to the next level in preparation for college and career. The library media specialist establishes herself as a resource for these students as they move forward. When we assign papers that require research and citation, our students can be seen in the library during study hall or after school asking for Ms. Savio's guidance in finding research materials or getting a refresher on how to properly cite resources. On a practical level, we're concerned about who would absorb these classes into their schedule. Almost all of the English teachers already teach 6 classes, where 5 is the normal caseload. We've already had to cut electives because of the number of 6-period assignments. This gives students far fewer choices, and eliminating a position like Mary Lynn's would exacerbate that. Second, the library media specialist makes sure that our library collection remains relevant and appealing. Ms. Savio makes recommendations, encourages reading for pleasure and purpose, and assists students in finding and checking out books.
Ms. Hackmeyer, you're at 2 minutes.
Oh man, that goes so fast.
You can also submit in writing as well.
Okay, we'll do that. Can I?
Please, closing remark, please.
All right. Obviously, we bring all of this to the board's attention in hopes that you will rethink the decision to eliminate this vital position of high school library media specialist. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Daniel Chosen.
Hello?
Yes.
Hi.
We hear you.
Yes, thank you so much, members of the board. I just have a brief statement. Well, first of all, I am the art teacher at the 3 lower elementary schools at Forest, Linden, and Central School. And I just have a brief statement regarding the media specialist position.
Sure, thank you.
Okay. For the past 5 years, I have worked closely alongside Trish Fagan as a member of the Related Arts team. Whether she is teaching her library classes or in years past running STEAM fairs or directing gifted and talented symposiums, she is always proactive and energetic. She has been an invaluable mentor, professional colleague, and friend. She is a valued member of our school community and an educator who excels in her skill to engage and inspire the young learners of our district. She cultivates such a curiosity and passion to explore literature within the students, which is such a foundational skill, a springboard upon which students can truly excel in their education. Her passion and enthusiasm for books is contagious, and the students truly look forward to their time with her each day. One student even noted that he never really enjoyed reading, as he viewed it as more of a task, something to get done in his required 10 minutes, and then escape to something quote unquote fun. However, he proudly confided to Mrs. Fagan that since having her in library, he now loves reading and is up to a full 29 minutes. Yes, he was that specific. I know that this district prides itself on the quality of its educators and the services we provide our students. That is why I'm asking the board to please reconsider its actions in cutting the high school librarian/research position. We cannot afford to lose this gem of an educator we find in Mrs. Fagan. With all the change, turmoil, and loss that the children have felt in their lives over the past year, they should be able to look forward to seeing their beloved librarian in the fall. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I see Erin Ackerman.
Good evening, Erin Ackerman, 278 Bay Avenue. I'm the parent of a 2nd grader at Linden Avenue. I oppose the elimination of the school library media specialist position and ask the board to use the forthcoming American Rescue Plan funds to reinstate it. We've previously raised concerns about the loss of information literacy expertise and the additional load on teachers to cover the classes currently offered by the librarian. Much of the work of providing library services, however, goes on behind the scenes. Even a digital collection requires time, effort, and professional knowledge to maintain resources that are useful and accessible. Who will do that work when this position has been eliminated? Who will maintain the library database with accurate patron and item records? Who will interact and negotiate with vendors? Who will suggest, assess, acquire, and maintain digital resources to support the curriculum? Who will make sure your abstracting and indexing databases work with your full text databases? Who will monitor what's in the databases on an ongoing basis, because it's not uncommon for publishers to remove some content from databases? Who will effectively assist teachers and students in using these electronic resources? Will that person understand the database's architecture and their control vocabularies in order to make the best use of these tools? As a college librarian, I work with whole department professionals who do this work behind the scenes. Is it your assertion that one librarian will coordinate library services for the whole district? With the elimination of the 7 through 12 librarian position, I worry that these tasks will be loaded onto already overburdened teachers and or be dropped entirely. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Marilyn Savio.
Marilyn Savio, President of the Glenridge Education Association. For the record, as you would expect, I firmly believe it is a mistake to eliminate the library media specialist position at the high school. And this is not just because that is the position I personally held for the last 22 years, but because it is an essential resource for both staff and students. I'm not going to use my 2 minutes tonight to try and convince you that my role at GRHS is important. I want to use this opportunity instead to make it clear that the high school, although highly ranked, is chronically understaffed. By definition in our teachers agreement, a high school teacher is meant to teach 5 periods per day. This provides adequate time to develop meaningful lessons, communicate with students and parents, collaborate with colleagues, attend IEP and other meetings, as well as to grade and provide thoughtful feedback to students. However, over 80% of the high school instructional staff currently have a 6th period. This means they are paid a small stipend to teach an extra class. A 6th period means more students, more planning, more grading, and less time to do all of this. Carrying this additional work and responsibility over time, unfortunately, negatively impacts teacher wellness or quality of instruction, and too often both, despite even the best teachers' best efforts. Our contract language indicates 6th period teaching assignments should be an occasional occurrence used when there is a temporary staff shortage. Our contract reads, no teacher shall be required to carry a 6th period teaching assignment unless such assignment is the result of there being no other qualified member in the department to fill the vacancy. Still, the majority of high school teaching staff carry a 6th period because we simply do not have enough staff to teach current course offerings, yet we continue to add new programs, including very demanding AP classes. My reason for bringing this up is to make it clear that if my position is eliminated, not only will high school students and staff lose someone they can rely on for instructional support, but other teachers will also be expected to absorb my 5 teaching assignments. Others may make it sound as if these classes can easily be reassigned, but there are few faculty members in the position to take on an additional class. Make no mistake about it, eliminating the high school library media specialist position will negatively impact our students and our teachers academically and emotionally now and into the future. Thank you.
Thank you. I see Teresa Messinio.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, we can hear you.
She's currently muted.
I didn't mute it, Teresa.
I keep
There you-
unmuting.
Wait.
There you go.
There
Okay.
you go.
All right. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for your patience in listening to us all. I also come before you this evening to voice my concern and dismay at the removal of the media specialist position at the high school. I realize that budgetary constraints often dictate the resources a school can afford, but Glenridge's hallmark has always been to consider educational best practices and a tradition of excellence along with a balanced budget. As a former resident and retired Glenridge teacher of nearly 20 years, it was that mindset of excellence in education that attracted my husband and me to the community from the start. Both our sons had the opportunity to come up through the school system anchored by teachers and staff who were dedicated to their craft and who provided a high standard of teaching. During these past 15 months, we have learned all too well how important both mentally and emotionally person-to-person contact is for our students. While virtual classes and hybrid models were a very necessary and useful remedy to a difficult situation, For many students, electronic learning is not a tool they would view as excellent education or a best practice, but just a means to an end. So while the thought of directing the library towards a 21st century digital space seems like a win-win, I think from personal experience and current reporting, our students are telling us a different story. A professional trained to assist students in navigating the internet for reliable and accurate information is imperative. Students need to be made aware that just because information is on the World Wide Web doesn't necessarily mean it's true. A library media specialist is a certified professional to do just that. All students pre-K through 12 are deserving of a professional who is trained in the needs and educational requirements of the particular age group. A school library is not just a business run by interchangeable employees. A school library specialist is dedicated to disseminating information, guiding students through materials and resources in a person-to-person setting, the way we, as educators, know children learn and thrive best, when they are met with real-life connection that is not found online, but with a caring, present professional. So in closing, I'm asking that you respectfully reconsider your decision to eliminate the position of library media specialist at the high school level and vote to keep all library specialists in their dedicated area of expertise from pre-K to grade 12. Thank you.
Thank you. I see Beth Thomas, I think your hand is still up. You've already spoken to us, but we'll have an opportunity to speak to us again at the end of the meeting in the second public comment period. Next, I see Brian Arbor.
Hello.
There we go.
Excellent. Hello. My name is Brian Arbor. I live at 278 Bay Avenue, and my son is a second grader at Linden. And I will note that he has a great experience. He's been having a great experience with Ms. Fagan, and I echo Ms. Chesney's comments about her. But I want to focus my remarks tonight by responding to the response I received from the board about the letter I signed, along with many others, about eliminating the media specialist position at the high school. The letter says, and I'll quote the letter here, "We clarified two things at the last meeting that we believe addresses your specific concern. First, we will continue to teach the cycle class, parentheses research, specifically devoted to information literacy skills in the middle/high school. I am aware that the district intends to continue to teach this class, and I was when I signed the letter. I am speaking today, as I did at the previous board meeting, because I believe this arrangement is inadequate. Information literacy is a crucial skill for our students to succeed at the college level, and they need to develop these skills to be prepared for college. I know this because I'm a college professor. These are essential skills that my students need in my courses at the John Jay College of Criminal Justice. And I was pleased to see with my college on the list of places where Glen Ridge students will be attending next year that Mr. Phillips posted at the beginning of the meeting. Librarians are trained in information literacy and can more effectively teach curriculum around these topics. Again, I know this from my experience as a professor. The librarians at my college teach this better than I do, and I've come to rely on them more and more to address my own deficiencies as a teacher of information literacy and to better prepare my students by giving them better instruction in being librarians. These same issues are present at the high school level, and we've heard a couple of departments address that very well this evening. I thank them for their comments. Thus, having a teacher specialized in other subjects teach information literacy is inadequate. I urge you to reverse this decision and use the plans and use the funds from the American Rescue Plan to fill in the necessary need. Thank you.
Thank you. Rania Barrett.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
This is actually Dave Barrett.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thank you. I live on Hawthorne Avenue, across from the Rose Garden, and I got two kids in the public school system. My name is Dave Barrett, and for nearly 30 years, I've worked in book publishing across 7 different publishing houses, with the majority of that in children's books. And I can tell you firsthand how crucial the role of the school librarian is. I've seen time and again how librarians have a direct connection to teachers who very much trust their opinion. And not only do they cultivate a school's library like a living garden that grows alongside its readership, the librarians themselves dictate the very fabric of our books. Every subsequent job I've had has included a larger and larger education library marketing department who ensures that the books we produce are in response to the feedback we get from our school librarians. Entities like the Texas Librarian Association and the American Library Association, which awards one of the most prestigious book awards, the Caldecott Medal, every year, have as much might in my industry as Amazon and Barnes & Noble do. They just don't have the sexy websites or accompanying funding. What do Lewis Carroll, Jacob Grimm, Madeline L'Engle, Joanna Cole of Magic School Bus fame, Beverly Cleary, and Ben Franklin have in common? Before they became who we know them as, they were librarians, which is to say they did the same thing that Mrs. Fagan does every time she sits behind her desk. She sees a need and fulfills it. You are doing a great disservice to whomever utilizes the library if you eliminate its caretaker. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see, Lisa Walter.
Lisa has an old version of Zoom, so I had to promote her to a panelist in order for her to speak.
Okay, and Lisa, I think you're muted right at the moment.
Okay, I'm on now.
You're on now, yes.
Wow, I'm a panelist. That's exciting. I just
welcome to the board.
Yeah, right. Wow. No, thank you. My name is Lisa Walter. I've been a teacher in the Glenridge School District for, I believe, 34 years now, and I'm currently the reading specialist at Forest Avenue School. I've worked with Trish Fagan during her entire career at Forest Avenue School. During this time, we have often shared our love of books. As I have walked through the multipurpose room during her library classes, I've always noticed the kind and gentle manner with which she addresses students. I've also observed how she enjoys reading to students as well as helping them find that particular special book. The following statement is read on behalf of 35 staff members from the 3 elementary schools who have signed the electronic copy. Eleanor Roosevelt once said, "One thing I have learned is this, how good it is to come home again." What a joy it has been to see our students come home to the actual school buildings again. However, we all know that although we all enjoy being in the physical spaces of our beloved schools, home is really about the people who live there. We're all longing for some sense of normalcy and familiarity, but this is especially true for our elementary students. When they see the face of a beloved teacher, they feel safe, relaxed, and happy. Although Mrs. Fagan has continued to teach and share her love of books through virtual meets as well as in-person teaching, our students should return in September to the home they remember, including Mrs. Fagan in the library. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Nihal Bujli, sorry.
There we go.
There we are.
Hi, Elizabeth. This is Nihal Bujale. I live on Stonehouse Road, and we have 2 kids, one in Central and one in Forest. Just wanted to comment, a little logistical comment. This Zoom format has been tremendous in terms of civic engagement. It kind of messes up a dinner in our house every few weeks, but it's great in terms of being able to participate. And I really strongly encourage the board to maintain this format, even when you all can go back to being in person. But that being said, I'm curious, I know a fellow resident had mentioned that there was potentially an opportunity to coordinate with the borough committee meeting to make sure they're not on the same days. And I'm wondering, were you guys able to make any progress on seeing if we can split those meetings? And if not, I strongly do encourage you to try to make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you. I discussed that with Mr. Phillips today. Certainly, the way it has worked in the past is the council meets, I believe, the 2nd and 4th Mondays of the month. Our meetings, we generally during the school year have 2 meetings a month. Sometimes they overlap with the council, sometimes not, because we have to make our calendar around all kinds of holidays and school breaks. But that being said, it's certainly something that we can discuss with the borough and something that we will consider. Okay, Karen Eisen.
Thank you, Betsy. Good evening, everyone. My name is Karen Eisen, 25 Douglas Road. I am a former Board of Education member who chaired the Personnel Committee for many years, and I am the parent of 3 children who have graduated from the district. I am also a former practicing appellate attorney who lived in research, and I am now a current professor and dean at Brooklyn Law School. As a former Board of Education member, I would like to go on the record as agreeing 100% with Professor Kristen Carl's comments about the budget process and the need for community input and opportunities to learn and weigh in on matters before the fact. When I was on the board, we operated under the correct assumption that transparency was key. We had nothing to hide, and we should never look as if we had something to hide. Community input is the key. We are a small district, and we should take advantage of that. As an educator, I wholly support Mr. Dimick and Ms. Hackmeyer's comments on the necessity for the library media specialist position. My students now, who are well into their 20s, some are even in their 30s, they need a library media specialist. I need a library media specialist. I am also incredibly dismayed at Ms. Savio's comment about how far we stretch our teachers' contracts. Our community tonight and your colleagues are telling you what is needed. Please listen to them. Thank you.
Thank you. I see Kendra Poster.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kendra Poster. I live at 118 Ridgewood Avenue. I have two children, one of whom is a current sophomore at Glenridge High School, the other of whom recently graduated. And I'm actually here not to reiterate what I said at the last meeting, but to speak on behalf of my shy college freshman who, when I told him that the librarian position had been eliminated, asked me to pass on to you his words, which are that the librarian was an essential resource to him and that he would not have achieved the GPA that he did without her. I think it's important to hear from the students who used that resource that they think it's incredibly important that you return it to them. And I thank you for considering that with the funds that have been granted.
Thank you. Ingrid Kozlowski.
Hi, thank you for hearing me again. I spoke at the last board meeting and I've written you letters, and at the last minute I decided that the statement I wrote was redundant, and instead I'm kind of going to speak from the heart a little bit. I do live in Glenridge. I have two kids at the high school level, and I have taught at the preschool, elementary, middle school, and high school level. Research is important to me. The library is my safe place. I did some research prior to speaking tonight because I used to be a debate coach. And one of the things we learned is to always research the opposing side. I couldn't find an opposing side for a librarian being omitted other than money. That's the only one. Everyone agrees that a library and a librarian are absolute necessities to a town and totally to a school. Then I started looking at the articles that were supporting the library, and there were many written by the American Library Association or Every Library or teachers unions, but many of them were written by parent magazines, Khan Academy, intellectual organizations that had nothing to gain. They were not part of, they didn't have the reason to fight for a library other than the intrinsic belief that it really is for the good of everyone. When we moved to Glenridge, I started volunteering side by side with Judith Gantley, who is no longer here any longer because she retired. I then worked side by side with Joyce Mooney for 6 years as the coordinator of the Ridgewood Avenue Library. Then I worked at Linden and I saw Trish Fagan work in action.
Ms. Kozlowski, you're at 2 minutes.
And I could just tell you, unless you have taught or worked side by side with a librarian, you are just absolutely could not imagine how multifaceted that position is. It is irreplaceable and we must keep it. Thank you.
Thank you. HT, I believe that's Mr. Tehran.
Yep. Hello.
Hi.
So I just wanted to ask a question that I've asked for several years now, and it is in regards to the 6th period assignments. that stretch our teachers so far? And do you know what percentage of teachers, and broken down per departments, and for how long we've had those teachers working in 6-period position? Because while I fully support the librarian and everything that everybody's saying, I'm also looking for what's the next position that's going to be eliminated and tried to force onto teachers that are just stretched thin, especially at the high school where a lot of the services are stretched between 6th grade, the middle school, and the high school. Thank you.
Thank you. Dirk, do you want to address that? You're muted. You're muted, Dirk.
I don't have those numbers in front of me to give him an answer to those questions. It's something that I can look up and certainly provide him that information.
Okay, Kim Waldron.
It's another case where she has to be promoted to panelist because she's using an old version of Zoom.
Okay.
How old can a version of Zoom be, by the way?
It's amazing. And, you know, we've all learned so much. We've all learned so much about technology. I think we have Kim now. Kim?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. My name is Kim Waldron, and I'm the primary one self-contained teacher at Forest Avenue School, and I have been teaching there for about 20 years. I wanted to speak to you from the perspective of a special educator tonight. After hearing all that has been going on and all of the drastic cuts that are being made, I felt that it would be terribly remiss of me not to address them myself. Over the last 9 years, I have been working with Mrs. Fagan, and she has been an invaluable asset to both me and to the students in my classroom. Many of our classroom lessons are theme-based, and I can always count on her to find me the books I need, to create meaningful lessons, even if it means that she's got to scramble and go to other libraries and find them somewhere. She will always find them for me. You know, I've watched her in action with my children who are struggling and reluctant readers. And, you know, she uses book talks and storytelling, very carefully designed plans, you know, to suit the interests of my developmental, the levels, you know, the interest in the developmental levels of the children in my class. And I just want to say, you know, that the school librarians, you know, they provide more than just books. The libraries are more than just books and computers and technology. You know, they really provide a safe haven for all of the children to think and create and share and grow. And, you know, she's provided a very important service to my children and making them feel successful. And I can't tell you the amount of times that a new book will come in and she'll pop up to my classroom and share it with us, or she'll bring a book up that she knows one of my students who is a struggling reader, you know, it's very high interest for him. So
You're at 2 minutes.
That's okay. So, you know, in summary, I just really would like you to consider keeping them. You know, they're invaluable members of our staff. They work tirelessly to enhance the lessons and learning opportunities for all of the children. And it is really my fervent hope that we will be keeping both of our librarians.
Thank you. Megan Connolly.
Another case of being upgraded to a panelist to speak.
Okay, Megan, I think you're muted. We can see you, but you're still muted for us.
Okay, hi.
There you are. Okay.
I don't know if my colleagues are using school computers, but I am, so I guess that we have to update them. I just have a prepared statement that I'd like to read. I am Megan Connolly, yes. I'm completing my 22nd year in the district, currently as a pre-K teacher at Central School. When I first heard of the board's plan to eliminate the high school library media specialist position, I was shocked and could be so short-sighted as to leave the district's children from 3rd through 12th grades with a drought of qualified professionals in such an important area. Yes, the medium with which information is disseminated has changed, but the principles of literary enrichment and scholarly research have not. But over the past few weeks, we've had professionals in the field give stronger evidence than I ever could as to the imperative need to retain that position. What I can bring to the table is the perspective of someone who finds herself among a limited group of people who have either lived and or worked in Glenridge for their entire lives. After my initial disbelief wore off, I found myself saying, well, yes, of course, this is Glenridge doing what Glenridge does, looking at a short-term solution to a budgetary problem. I get it. With low ratables, Glenridge has always had constraints in this area, but I'm worried that history is repeating itself. Back in the 80s, the district saw fit at the time to address budget worries by selling Central School. And we see how well that turned out and how costly it became to the taxpayer. My fear is that in the future, we will see another great cost, but this time it will be to the students. I truly question if they will be as prepared to navigate the rigorous academic expectations of high school and beyond without the support of a certified library media specialist. I implore the board to reconsider the elimination of a trained professional whose sole responsibility is to ultimately provide all of the students in this district the tools necessary to navigate an ever-changing educational landscape. Thank you.
Thank you. Megan Janine.
Sorry about that.
That's
Can you hear
okay.
me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Hi. So I just wanted to, I know I spoke at the last meeting, but I just wanted to jump in again and note that I am very much in support of keeping a library media position in each of the schools in the district. I have a child I live on Windsor Place, and I have two children currently at Ridgewood, one of whom will be going into the high school next year. And that child will be, I guess, taking his media course next year. And I guess after listening to how stretched so many of these teachers already are teaching a 6th period, I'm just wondering who is trained and able to teach this class, and how is that going to be reviewed in terms of, is that person qualified to teach a class? Are they getting thrown in to pick up another period because that's all that we've left the teachers with at this point? So I'm concerned, or would be curious to hear where you think that resource would, or that position would, the class would get picked up. And then separately, who's going to be responsible for ensuring the subscriptions and the services are available for research and that they're appropriate and up to date for the district? And if that falls on one counterparty across the district, it would seem that then that counterparty that has the experience in working with the kids will likely not have a lot of access to the kids because they'll be burdened with doing that across a group of schools rather than just at the high school level. And then separately, as an aside, my daughter, who has very thoroughly enjoyed Miss Fagan's library at Linden, cried when she heard that Miss Fagan's position was in jeopardy, and we had to have a discussion about budget, budget shortfalls with a 4th grader. And I think each of the different librarians or different people sitting in that space is so important for each of these students for different reasons, for research purposes, for teaching kids how to read. Okay, that I just see it as a real shame and hope we can make some changes to keep those positions permanent and not in jeopardy. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Trisina Strong Beebe. I hope I've pronounced that properly.
Yes, you did. Thank you very much. I'm actually representing the advocacy chair for NJSL, New Jersey Association of School Librarians, and we have had a plethora of residents contact us. So I am reading a statement on behalf of Aisha Hussein, who lives at 592 Ridgewood. And she has 2 children in the district, one at Forest and one at Ridgewood Avenue School. And she is a middle school ELA teacher. She wanted to voice her concerns about losing the media specialist position. When this topic came up, I keep hearing everything is accessible on the internet, that it's true, that it's so much information is accessible, which has its benefits, but also it has its consequences. The problem with allowing students to access information without instruction on how to discern fact from fiction or bias leads to the spread of misinformation at an alarming rate. I think that most will agree that the spreading of misinformation over the past decade has a serious consequence. That being said, students need to be routinely taught how to carefully evaluate the resources presenting information now that anyone can have a platform. So searching for information is not the issue, rather than understanding how to evaluate the source for accuracy is what is important. Media specialists are vital in this process. In my experience, media specialists have always played a key role in the curriculum development. They are the informational literacy experts, and we are partners together to collaborate on research projects and curriculum. It is important to recognize that this is the way to research, that it's appropriate at the college and university level. As we heard from parents who are professors, who are at the last meeting, teachers are content area experts, but not information science experts. Librarians have graduate degrees in information science, making them more qualified to teach our students and our children how to conduct themselves with research. Finally, teachers' relationships with their media specialists are vital in updating curriculum. For example, they keep us up to date with current middle grade literature. And
you're at 2 minutes.
Okay. And because of professional services, they attend conferences and workshops. So ideally, every school library should have a school media specialist.
Thank you. All right. Again, additional public comments can come at the end of the meeting. We will now continue with the committee and liaison reports, which we did not do at our last meeting. Normally, that is something we do at the first meeting of every month. So I will just call on you sort of in the order that I see the boxes on the screen. Michael, can we start with you?
Yes, so curriculum actually hasn't met. We're trying to schedule something for next week. And negotiations committee, we're in the middle of a negotiation with the administrators in the district, but I can't comment beyond that.
Okay, Jocelyn.
So Forest Avenue Home and School Association met on May 5th, and it seems like a long time ago. Their next meeting will be June 2nd at 7 o'clock, and it will be a celebratory meeting at Glenridge Country Club. During that May 5th meeting, we talked about some of the changes upcoming. One of them, of course, today, moving the full day. There will be field day this year in person for the first time in 2 years, and there will be a second grade promotion coming up on the 11th. And as Mr. Phillips showed at the beginning, a lot of the activities have started again in terms of flocking and the learning garden and other events. At Ridgewood Avenue Home and School meeting on April 30th, they also talked about a lot of the work that's been going on. There was a Hamilton performance, which actually occurred after that home and school meeting, but it was so fantastic. There was a lot of build up to it, and I just wanted to acknowledge that. There is an ongoing courtyard renovation project, which will be unveiled in September. And Dr. Donovan spent some time at that meeting talking about the shifts in the 5th grade cycle class away from synergistics, but how the curriculum is being updated to include sort of more current STEAM curricula, as well as the school's efforts to incorporate sort of DEI updates to the curriculum across the board. The next meeting for Ridgewood will be June 4th at 8:45 in the morning. And then lastly, there was a GRACE meeting last week on the 18th. The CPAC, the Special Education Parent Advisory Committee, spent some time talking to the group about their priorities, and the rest of the meeting was really focused on transitions of students in special education between each of the schools.
Okay, thank you. Anthony.
There has not been a GRAA meeting so far as I know. However, I have had some questions posed to me surrounding sports next year in terms of possibly things like volleyball, and possibly I was also posed a question about having a swim team in town. So I'm going to see about asking, more about that within the GRAA, and then, within the district, to find out what the status is going to be for sports next year. I anticipate it's going to be normal, but as with all things pandemic, that remains to be seen.
Indeed, we await guidance from on high as far as sports goes, and that's the DOE and also the NJSIAA that regulate school sports. So we all wait eagerly for that guidance and for a good deal of other guidance. Tracy.
Yes, the central homeschool meeting was April 29th, which again feels like eons ago. They discussed the upcoming and now past Teacher Appreciation Initiative. They had a very successful community service sneaker drive. They were planning, and I believe implemented, a social at Freeman Gardens. And they have a spiritware sale that is ongoing with new items. Their next meeting will be June 2nd. The Educational Foundation met on May 13th, and they're currently discussing a fundraising initiative. And I believe, but I'm not sure, that their next meeting is June 8th. Lastly, the Personnel Committee met on May 3rd, and we discussed ongoing staffing issues and current staffing issues regarding leaves and things like that. And we discussed some initiatives for the fall as far as personnel.
Okay, thank you. Duval?
Hi, just to give a quick report from the Communications Committee. We met last Tuesday, and we are very excited to announce that we've agreed on a new template for our district website. So work will begin on that really in the summer, so that there is time to work through bugs and inconsistencies, as the material that's currently on the website will get rolled over into the new site and reformatted, reevaluated. And the hope is that it will be up and running for us by September, by the beginning of school. So that will that'll be a lot of work, a lot more work. We also, and Dirk spoke to this earlier, we discussed the making sure that future budget presentations are distributed a bit sooner, so that the board and the public have time to really review that information and dig into it a bit more prior to the annual meeting where we vote on our budgets. And the third issue that we talked about was really around social media, and how we as a board monitor social media, and very rarely do we weigh in to discussions that are happening online. And one of the reasons we do this, or we don't weigh in, is because one individual cannot speak for the entire board. So we have to be very mindful about how we will respond to social media. And we were just talking a bit more generally about how we keep tabs on what the community is talking about as regards to our work and things coming down the pike and issues to address. So that's
Okay.
that's our report.
Thank you. Teresa?
I've been having technical problems for the whole meeting. I'm sorry about that. The Glen Ridge Patrons for the Arts Association has chosen a number of students in connection with its scholarship, and they are going to be awarded on Friday, the June 4th awards program. I don't have the names, but I hope that we can get the names and perhaps see the art of these great kids that do such wonderful work. So I'll stand by and keep you posted on that. The Gaslamp Players had a performance last week, Spring Awakenings, which I heard was fantastic. And I just applaud the kids who are putting in such great time and energy into that. And they do have a program this summer that is filling up quickly. So for those folks that want to participate in the Gaslamp program over the summer, I encourage you to reach out to them and thank both of those organizations. And I just am so delighted by the photography candidates. Again, congratulations to those students.
Okay, thank you. I have two sets of reports here. The first from our colleague, Heather Yaros-Raymond, who is not able to be with us at this time. She attended the Linden Home and School Association meeting on April 28th. There was information given about changes in schedule, which are now, that information is outdated, so I will not burden you with that. There was a discussion of the field day, possible participation of kids in virtual. There was also a discussion of open home and school positions. These are thankless jobs, but they're hoping to fill them anyway. And the open positions at that time were secretary and chairs for Enrichment and International Day. The project for this year for the home and school is to repaint the murals on the walls, back of the playground. They're going to have fundraisers that include personalized stationery, a paper drive, and of course the book fair, which was held on the 19th. They're also having events including Visiting Author Day, Earth Day, and an Eyes of the World, I think it's Eyes of the World assembly. And they're planning on parent and child socials on the playground, 1 hour per grade. They were also looking forward to Magic Night, for which there was not a date yet on the 28th. And also a big favorite with students, popsicle sales of that. So that is Linden. And yesterday's weather would have made popsicle sales a good idea. I attended the High School Home and School Association, which was the same week as the Linden Association. We had reports from John Lawler, principal, from Dr. Harris and Ms. Landgraber on behalf of the middle school program, and also from Mr. Hill on student activities. Mr. Lawler noted that we're in the final stretch and that the major efforts in this final stretch are to support students, especially the seniors. Students were able to take SATs, which was a great relief to many after some postponement of SATs. He reminded us all that our students will be taking the Smart Start test, which is a state test in the fall, and we'll have more information on that as it becomes available. He wants to have students have typical end of the school year experiences. And he mentioned professional development for the staff, including culturally responsive practices and instruction on equity for all staff. The middle school, they're planning their end of the year carnival, which sounded really very exciting. They thanked this home and school for considering the staff. And Mr. Hill gave an update on sports as it was at the time. Gave his great praise to the senior art show, and also mentioned the middle school drama presentation at Freeman Gardens of Camp Rock. That is the high school and middle school home and school report. And that is the end of our committee reports, and we will now continue with regular business. We have in the packets minutes from executive session and regular meetings of May 10th. Does anybody have any changes to those minutes? No? All right, Michael, would you move the minutes?
Yes, I'll move M1.
Okay, may I have a second? Second, from Anthony. Right. If there's no further discussion, Barbara, would you call the roll?
Mr. Bonnet,
Aye.
Ms. Boyle-Bellucci,
Abstain.
Mr. DeLu,
Aye.
Ms. Gottlieb,
Aye.
Ms. Graham,
Aye.
Ms. St. Aubern,
Aye.
Dr. Yaris Ramos, Ms. Ginsburg.
Aye. Motion carries. Personnel, Tracy, would you move the personnel items?
Yes. I'm sorry, Tracy, can I ask a question before those?
I'm sorry, yes, please.
Dirk, could you speak to item P2 and just the transition plan for the child study team member who is leaving?
Typically, when we have a teacher who's leaving, whether it's a resignation, retirement, or going on leave, we try to get we advertise for the position and try to get a replacement in for a week or two, so they can work together with the individual who's leaving, so they're more familiar with it. In this case, I know this position has already been posted, so we're waiting for resumes to come in. We're reviewing those resumes and we'll start the interview process as soon as possible. We'd like to have a hire possible before our last board meeting of the school year.
Thank you.
Tracy. Thank you.
Sure. I move P1 through P10, which includes items on the addendum that are revisions to P5 and P7.
All right, may I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, second by Teresa. In keeping with our bylaws and the Code of Ethics, the vast majority of personnel cannot be discussed in public session. So if there are no other questions or comments, are there any other questions or comments? All right, Barbara, would you call the roll?
Mr. Bonnet,
Aye.
Ms. Boyle Valici,
Aye.
Mr. DeLu,
Aye.
Ms. Gottlieb,
Aye.
Ms. Cram,
Aye.
Ms. St. Auburn,
Aye.
Ms. Ginsburg.
Aye. Motion carries. Duval, would you move the business items?
Yes, I'd be happy to move B1 to B7 and B8 in the addendum.
Okay, may I have a second? Second? I saw Justin, okay. Any discussion or questions on the business items? All right, Barbara, would you call the roll?
Mr. Bonnet,
Aye.
Ms. Boyle Valici,
Aye.
Mr. DeLu,
Aye.
Ms. Gottlieb,
Aye.
Ms. Graham,
Aye.
Ms. St. Auburn,
Aye.
Ms. Ginsburg.
Aye. The motion carries. We've now reached the second public comment period for questions or comments on agenda or other items pertaining to the running of the schools. The same procedure applies. Hit the raise your hand button. Announce yourself, your place of residence, your affiliation, if any, and you have 2 minutes. And please, if you have multiple questions or comments, say them all up front so that we can address them. All right, I see Mr. Turan.
Hi, I have two follow-ups. One, I just wanted to follow up with Mr. Phillips. Do you think that it's more than 50% or 75% of teachers that are working a 6th period? Because I saw on your agenda and the addendum that you're voting on 5 of those teachers tonight. And I notice on all the paperwork, every meeting that I attend and look at the paperwork, it's always noting which 6th period. So you're constantly voting on approving 6th period, and you have no clue what kind of percentage. So greater than 50%, greater than 75%, an estimate. And then my second question would be, do you know what the restrictions are on using the grant funds, what we can't use the money for and what we can use the money for? Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Phillips, do you want to take on the 6th grade assignment question?
Sure. At the high school, when we're looking at 6th period assignment, I'd say that it's probably 75, maybe a little bit over 75% of the teachers are working 6th period assignments. As you go down the grade levels, that is not so prevalent. I know with the 6th grade setup that those 6th grade teachers are getting 6th period assignments because they're teaching multiple sections. But as you look going down to the lower levels, it's typically does not happen as much, especially at the primary level. The times you will see 6-period assignments is usually only with related arts or special education teachers. With the related arts, their number of preps are much different because they're teaching the same class to multiple grade classes and to the same grade levels, where a homeroom teacher is teaching a different content throughout the day. So this has been the 6-period assignment concern has been an issue through the district for a number of years. It's as we're trying to offer as many courses as possible. It's one of our ways to be able to do that and to address class size at the same time.
And I should add that all working conditions, including 6-period assignments, are part of the contract that we negotiate with the teachers union. And as you recall, we concluded a contract last year that was the latest update of our agreement with the teachers. With regard to the state, the questions that you asked, the Department of Education press release on this just came out this afternoon. And the bureaucracy and rules surrounding the ARP money, American Recovery Plan money, are large. I can tell you that the Department of Education today, this afternoon, released a draft plan for how the state, not localities, how the state intends to spend the nearly $2.8 billion it is set to receive under the education portion of the American Rescue Plan. Most of the federal funding will go directly to districts to be used for reopening efforts and addressing learning loss. The portion set aside for the state will go toward funding grants for learning loss, summer programs, so-called screener assessments to ensure student readiness for learning and other reopening needs. According to the DOE, New Jersey has received around 2/3 of its total allocation of $2.76 billion. The state must submit an application to the U.S. Department of Education for the remainder. So there is a lot going on here. There are applications required. The next thing from a macro point of view, the draft plan, which is what the New Jersey Department of Education released today, will go to public comment until June 3rd. And in the meantime, districts will be required to develop and submit plans for a quote, safe return to in-person schooling. And those plans have to be made by June 24th. So there's a lot going on here. According to the New Jersey Department of Education, the ARP funds are available for obligation beginning May 24th, and districts can begin submitting applications anytime before November 24th. So you can see that there is a very, very involved process for these funds. It's not a case where funds just drop into your district bank account overnight and you can make determinations about them overnight. So we will continue to keep you abreast on those developments. We have to analyze in detail what has come out of the state, and I can assure you that it is lengthy. So we will keep you apprised. And I see Beth Thomas again.
Yes, thank you. I have a statement, but I actually also had a follow-up question from earlier regarding the administrative code and the QSAC compliance. According to those documents, a district must provide every student with school library media services under the direction of a certified school library media specialist. Who's the certified school library media specialist providing those services to students at Ridgewood Avenue School?
And did you have another question?
No, I'd have a statement after that.
Oh, okay. Why don't you read the statement and then we'll go back to the first question.
Okay, thank you. So Beth Thomas, NJSL President, Springfield, New Jersey, thank you for the opportunity to speak again. There have been over 30 statewide studies in the last 25 years showing a direct correlation between strong school library programs and student achievement. Earlier this month, a study conducted by linguistics professor Dr. Stephen Krashen was published. He and his colleagues completed the third phase of a longitudinal study of significant factors in children's levels of literacy. Using the PEARLS, Progress in International Reading Literacy Study test, a test administered to 10-year-olds in over 50 countries, they found that school libraries and their collections were the main contributing factor and made up for some of the negative effects of poverty. Direct teaching and early literacy did not have a significant effect. Strong school library programs are those that have robust budgets that provide for a continually updated and professionally curated collection of print resources and databases. Strong school library programs have a certified school librarian at the helm who teaches information literacy based on a curriculum that is built on the American Association of School Librarians national standards and the New Jersey Student Learning Standards. In fact, Standard 9.4, which is required to be implemented starting in the fall of 2022, specifically references school library media specialists. Unfortunately, the consequences of lack of access to strong K-12 school library programs run by a certified librarian are usually realized after students graduate from their district. For those heading to college, it takes the form of remedial research classes so that they can learn to use their college or university's library and rise to the challenge of academic level research.
That's
But
your
really,
2 minutes.
okay, thank you.
Hey, Athena, can you reiterate about the code?
Sure. What the code provides is that each school district shall provide library media services under the direction of a certified school library media specialist, meaning that there's no requirement to have a certified library media specialist in each building. It's a district position or requirement under the code.
Okay. And I should say that there is legislation that has been introduced in the New Jersey legislature to do what you said, provide a certified library media specialist in every library. But the fact is that there is no funding attached to that legislation. And that makes it an unfunded mandate, which is illegal in the state of New Jersey. Okay, I see Megan Deneen.
Sorry. Hi, just wanted to follow up. I'd asked a question before. I noted I have one child going up into the high school and another one that will be following. And I guess probably as you guys make the decisions, you must earmark some individual, or I guess maybe a group of individuals that would be teaching this media class that is supposed to be then what is given to the kids so that they can access the internet going forward as their the way that they search for information, likely, I guess, on their own. So I was wondering who you had planned when you were sort of making this transition plan, who would be picking that class up, or would it be across a group of different people, and how would you ensure then that the kids are all getting the same information and that it's being delivered properly?
Okay, did you have any other questions other than that?
No, just I'm concerned
Oh.
if you have someone sitting there who will be teaching that, if that is the only resource that's available in the high school, other than, I guess, overloaded teachers to help them with their research work.
Dirk, would you like to comment?
Yes. First of all, I want to make it clear that the introduction to information literacy is not first taught at the high school. That's something that's introduced at Ridgewood Avenue. It's introduced in their library cycle. It's introduced in their computer cycle. It's something that's reinforced in the classroom. So the students are being exposed at a young age on to analyze where they're getting their information from. And that continues to the high school with the research classes, with the social media classes that we have, in their English classes and in their social studies classes, and any other class they may be doing research. As far as what we're looking at for next year at this time, the research cycle classes would be taught by a certified language arts teacher. We're talking 2 grade levels, so we're probably talking about 2 different teachers. And it's not uncommon that we have multiple teachers teaching the same content or the same subject area. Whether it's English 7, we have 2 or 3 teachers doing it. Social studies 8, whatever it may be, those teachers are communicating and working together, and they share a curriculum. In this case, we'd be looking at a grade 7 and grade 8 research class, so they would be communicating it and articulating what they've accomplished in those classes. So there wouldn't be repetition in content.
Okay, and I see Mary Lynn again.
Hello, Mary Lynn Savio again. I just want to comment on some of the things that have come up, just to clarify some of the questions that maybe I have some information on. As far as what's been happening at Ridgewood Avenue School, I, as one of the remaining media specialists, have not been involved in any way or consulted. I can not speak for Trish, but to my knowledge, neither has she. So to my knowledge, since Joyce Mooney left, there has been no oversight there from a certified media specialist. As far as the 6 periods go, I actually did calculate them today. So I can tell you what the current standing is at the high school. 74% of staff have a 6 period currently. That includes staff that is non-instructional, however. CST and guidance wouldn't have 6 periods. So when you calculate only instructional staff, it's 82% of the staff currently. And to follow up on the language arts teachers, I can tell you there's only one language arts teacher who doesn't currently have a 6 period. So that would be very complicated to happen, as you say. I also want to talk about the contract momentarily, just because the contract does allow for 6 periods, but the spirit of the contract, I think, is different than what has actually transpired recently and over a number of years. It says that 6 periods will be provided if necessary, if there's no other choice. And we have pretty much created a situation where there is no other choice because there's never enough staff. So I don't think that's the spirit or intent of the contract, but we can certainly work on that language going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. We don't see any other hands up. So that concludes our public comment period. With that, I should add that for those who want to delve into the ARP plan, if you go to the Department of Education's website, which is just search the New Jersey Department of Education, there is a header at the top that says Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief, and that tab will take you to the draft plan that I just referenced. Board members, anything further? Okay, if that's the case, may I have a motion to adjourn? Anyone?
Moved.
Moved by, well, may I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Duval. Thank you all.